So this is the reference libraries over here. Inside this, you have the Selenium jar files. Now, in order to use this, in order to use how to use the class files which are present inside these jar files, fine, you need to understand the concepts of object-oriented programming. Fine. So my focus is right now to explain you the concepts of object-oriented programming. Why? This is because the architecture of Selenium is completely object-oriented. Whether you talk about RC or you talk about Selenium WebDriver, okay, both are object-oriented. Now there is always a question in the market, a question by everybody that the documentation of Selenium is very poor, or there is no documentation available on this tool. The thing is, documentation is there. Okay, if you go to this link java.doc, the documentation is there. I will share this link with everybody on WebEx chat. Right, the documentation is there, but the only problem is the documentation is object oriented. If you're not a guy who knows object oriented programming, it's very tough to understand this documentation. Okay, so now we will actually go on with this and hold on. Right. So understanding the concepts of object-oriented programming. Fine. Suppose I create a new class, right, and I name that class as a very simple one. For example, car. Okay. I created a simple class known as car. Right. In this car class, I make a property of that car, like string name of the car. Okay. This is a public class car. This is the name. There is no main function in this class. Like we had a main function here, right? Public static void main. Similarly, in the car class, we don't have any main function. Okay, now I will again make a new class, right, and I will name that class as test class. Just a minute, guys. 1 minute. This is the class generated, right? Now in this class, in the main function, okay, I will create the object of car class. Now, what do you mean by object of the car class? Okay, you mean something like this, right? New car. Okay, now what happens in the memory? In the memory, an object of this class is made, right? And in that object, you have the property name, right? Okay, but this object is hanging in the memory, nobody can access it. Similarly, if I write it 2 times or 3 times, new car 3 times, then in the memory you get 3 objects of the car class created. Each class has the name, each object has the name property inside it. Okay, this is because name was a property inside the car class. Right. but each of these three objects, they are hanging in the air. Nobody can access them. To access them, you need to make object references. That means you have to write something like this. Say car C1 equals to new car. So what happens is that when you write like this, the references are made. Okay, this pointer is C1, which points towards the first object. With the help of C1, you can access the properties of the car class. For example, I can write C1 dot name is Audi. Fine. Name is, hold on. Yeah, name is the property inside the car. Right. Similarly, you can write car C2 equals to new car. Car C3 equals to new car. Okay, and you can give different names to every property. Every object can have a different name. Every car can have different name. Right? The crux is in car class there is just one variable. Okay, one variable is their name, but by creating the objects of the car class, I can give a different value of that variable to different objects. Okay, one object can have name is Audi, another object can have the name as BMW, and another can have the name as Honda. Right. Now, moving further, if I write C1 dot name, system dot out dot println, C1 dot name, C2 dot name, and C3 dot name. If you run this, this will be printed. Okay, Audi, BMW, and Honda. Suppose I add a new property in the car class. I add a property called, say, int weight. Then this weight will be also present inside all the three objects. Right? All the three objects will also have weight property. Right? And when you write like this, C1 dot weight. If I print this, then initially it will print 0 because weight is not initialized. Okay, but when you write C1 dot, you get all the properties of the object. Okay, now similar thing we do in Selenium. In Selenium, everything is inbuilt. You don't have to learn rocket science in order to learn with Selenium, work with Selenium. Everything is inbuilt. All the classes are inbuilt. Okay, you just need to know the classes and you need to make objects of those classes. Right. For example, there is a class known as out here there is a class known as Firefox driver. And many of you might have worked with this as well. Okay, it is used to work with Firefox browser. Okay, now I'll make a new class known as Selenium Basics. Okay, over here I will just create the object of Firefox driver. I write new Firefox driver. Okay, and move my mouse over the error. Right? So you get the option import Firefox driver. This option will only come in case you have the jar file for Selenium inside your project. Okay, you just import it, and now if I run this, just by creating the object of this internal class in Selenium, you will see a Firefox browser opening up. Many of you might get an error on this page, right at this position. If you get an error, then please switch to some older version of Firefox. If you are using Firefox 20 or something, then switch over to 16 or 17 and error will go away. Right? Now, if I have to navigate to a website, if you have to do some operations on the Firefox, right, you need to access this object. You need to write Firefox driver f equals to new Firefox driver, and then you can write f dot get a URL, say http gmail.com. Right. So when you run this, a Firefox browser will open up and it will simply go to Gmail. Fine. Question is being asked, that is, can you show again how did you add the libraries for Selenium? So look, the first thing is you need to go to this URL, seleniumhq.org, and you need to click on the download link. You need to download all the libraries from this download link. Okay, I'll give you this URL over WebEx chat. I'll give this to everybody. Fine. Click on this download link, and you will have the jar files on your system over here. You will have these two jar files and the jar files in the library as well. Right. Then you need to go to your project properties, right click on the project and go to properties, or the shortcut is select your project and hit Alt Enter. Alt Enter, property window will come up. Go to Java build path. When you go to Java build path option, you have got various tabs here. Inside the tabs, select library tab and add the jars from here. You have to add the jars inside the library as well as these two jars. Okay, so this is how it works. When you run this, fine, this thing will open up Firefox and will simply go to Gmail page, right? So after going to Gmail, I need to click on a link, I need to do something, right? I will talk about that, right, in coming time, right? So this is how Firefox driver works. Similarly, for every browser there is a separate driver. Okay, for Chrome you have something known as Chrome driver. For I, you have something known as Internet. You know, the best part is that in Eclipse, if I type, I know that the driver name is Internet Explorer driver. But suppose if I am not sure with the spelling, how to spell Internet Explorer driver, because there will be classes coming up, you would have a rough idea in your mind that fine, this class it spells something like this, but how do I write it down? So I just type int and hit Control spacebar of my keyboard. So all the classes starting with int will come up, which are there in the libraries. Okay, and one of them would be Internet Explorer driver. Hold on. You see that? This one, right? You select this. Internet Explorer driver is the driver for I, If I have to work on Android, then you have Android driver. We will be looking at this one as well in the course. Okay, but fine. If you look at your documentation, right, there is a driver for Android as well, Android driver, right? But the thing is, I made a spelling mistake there. This driver, it don't think that it will test your Android applications. Okay, Android driver is to test your web applications. Selenium is a browser automation testing tool. It's not there for your desktop based applications. If you have to test how your web based application it is opening in Android phone, you can use Android driver. Okay. Similarly, there is a driver for iPhone as well, which I will not be covering because most of the people want Android, right? And I also have a good experience on working with Android driver, right? And right. So how do I work with them? Similarly, you need to create the objects of these classes to work with them. But before I move over to create the objects of these classes, let's come back to the concept of object-oriented programming. I had made this class called car and I had made various features inside it. Similarly, there is a class called Firefox driver. When I create the object of this Firefox driver, and if I write f dot, you get lot of functions which are available with this driver. These all functions are coming from this class. Okay. Now, similarly, if I write a variable known as static int wheels. Now, what does this static mean? What does this mean? Right? Practically, static is something which will not be the part of the object. Static is something which is stored at a common memory location so that all the objects can access it from that common memory location. Static is something which is common for all the objects. If it changes, then it changes for all the objects. Okay, I can access static directly by the name of the class. I don't need to create the object of the class to access static content. For example, if I have to access name is non-static. It is not static. So you have to create the object of the class car and then access the name with the object. But if you have to access the static, you simply have to write the name of the class dot say wheels equals to 9. Then all the cars will have 9 wheels, right? Or 5. And all the cars will have 5 wheels. So static can be accessed directly with the name of the class. And static is something which is common for all the objects. Okay. Now, if you go to this thing, say hello, right, or Selenium basics. Fine. If I have to work with Chrome driver, okay, I create the object Chrome driver C equals to new Chrome driver, right? You import the Chrome driver class, move your mouse over this thing and hit select import, or I'm sorry, or the shortcut is that you press Control plus space plus O. Sorry, Control plus Shift plus O. Everything will be imported in one go. If you hit Control Shift O, you don't need to move your mouse over there. everything will be coded. Okay, so now I've created the object of Chrome driver. I'll comment these two lines. Commenting means I'm making them of no use, they'll not execute. Now if you run this, on most of the systems you'll get an error. Now don't be afraid of errors, right? If you don't know what the error does or what the error means, you copy the first line of the error, okay? Go to Google and paste the error, right? You'll get a lot of features, a lot of solutions, okay? The better thing is just copy the part which is coming after the exception, this part, and paste it in Google. You'll get a lot of properties. Okay. So now this error, how can this be removed? Read the error properly. The path to driver executable must be set by the WebDriver.Chrome.Driver system property. Okay. I'll tell you what does this mean. This means that in Selenium, if you have to work with Chrome, you know, Chrome is a third-party browser driver. Okay, now Chrome driver. This is the browser. You need to download an exe file. Okay, go to the downloads page, and unfortunately, what is happening is Chrome is not working on my machine. Right? Today I had reinstalled it. It's not working, but still I'll tell you what to do. You go to this thing and download this zip file. Depending on your operating system, whether it is Mac, Linux, Windows, right? You download this zip. Okay, I'll download it. And hold on. Oh, my net is very slow. I'm finished downloading it, and you extract it. You'll get this folder. You'll get a file known as chromedriver.exe. Don't run this. There's no point running this. Okay, I'll keep this exe file in my H drive. Okay, and you need to set a system property, that is WebDriver.Chrome.Driver. System is a class. Okay, internally, system is a class in Java. It's an internal class. If you write system dot, you get all the non-static things present in this class. Okay, you write over here system dot set property. Okay, you give the key name as WebDriver.Chrome.Driver and give the value as the path to ChromeDriver.exe. H drive ChromeDriver.exe. Fine. I'm not sure whether this will work on my machine or not because Chrome itself is not working since morning. I need to do something about it, right? If I run this code, then yeah, somehow Chrome is opening up, right? You see that Chrome opens up, and I get this message. Don't worry about this message. This is not an error. Okay, this is the port number of your machine on which Chrome driver was started. Right. Now, if I write over here c dot get to the URL, say http facebook.com, it will go to Facebook. Now, one more thing which is very important, and most of the people do a mistake. Do mention the protocol. Don't just write facebook.com or www.facebook.com. It will not work. You have to mention I'm sorry you have to mention the URL facebook.com with the protocol. Okay, now if I run this, and it's going to Facebook, right? So it lands up on Facebook, right? So this is how you work with Chrome. There, in case of Chrome driver, if you refresh your project, you also get Chrome driver log. Okay, you need to refresh your project. Right click on the project, refresh it. In this log, you get the information about what happened at every moment when Chrome was getting executed. Okay, right now you'll not be able to understand this. Okay, but still, like, just be with me. Fine. Similarly, for Internet Explorer driver, right? You have an exe file for iDriver as well. This exe file can be downloaded from here, depending on your Windows, whether it is 64-bit or 32-bit. Fine. Download the iDriver.exe. Need to click on this and save it. This is iDriver.exe, and this is the one, iDriver server.exe. I'll keep this thing as well in H drive as well. I'm keeping them in H drive because as you proceed with the course, you will come to know about them. Right? I have i6 on my machine because I'm on a server operating system, 2003 server. So I have i6. I'll tell you about that. After that, I'll tell you the frameworks. It's the question being asked is, what if I don't? This is hard coding, right? I'm hard coding the path. If I put this file on your friend's PC, this will not work because the Chrome driver.exe will not be present on your friend's PC at this location. So that part is separate. It will come in the frameworks. But first, I want to teach you the tool, right? First, let us concentrate on the tool. Later on, I'll tell you how you can make it quite dynamic as well. You create the object of Internet Explorer driver, and you can work with it. But before working with it, you have to do two things. First is that you need to hold on, Internet. Hold on. You have to bring the security settings to the same level in I. Just go to Google and just search for turning off I security settings. Okay, you will get a lot of information. Just follow that and do it. I cannot show it to you in the online class because I have i6 with me. Right. Firstly, you have to make it at the same level. But I suggest people just turn off the I security settings, and after that, write the line system.setProperty. System is a class internal. Set property is the function, static function inside the class. I can directly call it from the name of the class dot the function name WebDriver dot i.driver and give the path to iDriver.exe. Fine. Now, if you run this code, you will see I opening as well. Right? So I has also opened. I can navigate to any website and so on with it now. Now, after navigating to a website, I need to click on a link. I need to read the text. I need to get the title of the page. I need to extract all the names of the links on the page, print the names, click on the links one by one. So how do I interact with the page in Selenium? Right? How do I interact with the web components in Selenium? I'll talk about that as well. But before that, I want to have a small small session. Like anybody having any questions?